Donald Trump just caved to China in his trade war as he is dropping the tariffs without China having to make any concessions. Donald Trump looks weak in his own trade war. Now this morning, after insisting that there was nothing China could do to have the tariffs dropped, here's what Donald Trump announced. 80% tariff on China seems right, up to Scott B. First off, it's not up to Scott Bessent, his Treasury Secretary. It's up to Trump. And if Trump says it, he does it. Yeah. The tariffs are going to be dropped now to 80% from 145. And China hasn't had to do anything. Donald Trump is just folding like a cheap tent in the rain because he knows now this trade war was a bad idea. He's going to destroy the American economy. And now he's looking for a way out. First, it was his fake deal signing with the UK yesterday, and now he's going to start slowly reducing the tariffs, pretending as if they're making deals and making progress when really nothing is happening but Donald Trump caving.
Okay, this is a friendly PSA that if you are ordering from a company that you're not sure where they're manufacturer, you need to check. I ordered this beautiful dress because I'm a 2026 bride, and I checked out. It was $225, so it's already kind of a splurge. It didn't say anything about tariffs, or literally it didn't reference them at all. And this morning I woke up saying that my package has arrived in the United States and that I owe a tariff bill of $325. That makes this, although beautiful outfit, $550. What the heck am I supposed to do?
China is starting to feel the pain from the US tariffs, but they don't want anyone to know about it. You see, while we're currently seeing China's leaders publicly say that they're willing to fight America to the bitter end, privately, things are a bit different because Reuters is now reporting that Chinese companies importing US goods are being contacted by Chinese authorities to let them know that they don't actually have to pay those 125% tariffs they placed on America.
Is Donald Trump now scrambling to make a trade deal with China? That is what many are now wondering after it came out that he's apparently willing to drop tariffs on Chinese goods to just 80%. Which of course is still outrageously high compared to before Donald Trump took office, but also way less than the crazy 145% that's in effect right now. And one of the reasons he could be scrambling for a deal is because it actually looks like the tariffs aren't working to punish China. But on one hand, exports to America have dropped by a drastic 21% in April year over year. That 21% drop also erases any gains made in March, which at the time made it seem like the tariffs weren't actually hurting trade. But as many have pointed out, that sudden increase in shipments, it was exporters trying to get their goods into the States before tariffs took effect. And this is China has managed to offset that by expanding exports to Southeast Asia and Europe. And so actually, in April, it's estimated that Chinese exports had risen by about 8% overall. Now with all this, regarding a potential trade deal, we saw Donald Trump saying,
I will tell you that China very much wants to make a deal.
Although there, you have many experts saying that should really be taken with a grain of salt, as Trump recently made similar claims and even said that he had spoken to Xi, all of which was allegedly not true according to Chinese officials. But notably, at the same time, American and Chinese officials are supposed to meet in Switzerland to negotiate. Except I will say there might be some mismatched expectations there. In that, because China has made it clear that they're open to holding talks once tariffs were rescinded. And, Donald Trump's offer to lower tariffs to 80%, that probably is not going to cut it. So all of this, it could end up being a big speed bump in Trump's plans to shake up the global economy. Because while it does seem like many countries are trying to come to the table, like we saw with the recent UK trade deal, China, on the other hand, at least for now, seems far less willing to negotiate a new deal after decades of relatively free trade. In fact, so much so that its vice foreign minister made it seem like they were willing to wait out the tariffs because, quote, what the United States is doing cannot be sustained. And adding, ordinary people in the US already feel suffering from the tariff war. So right now, it remains to be seen if Trump's willing to maintain the insane tariff rates or if drastically increasing prices over the next few months are going to force him to change course before risking his Republican majority ahead of the midterm.
Hey, remember when I said things in China aren't as perfect as they look? Well, here they are. China's central bank just cut interest rates again. Why? Well, because United States tariffs are hitting harder than they want to admit. I mean, factories, they are slowing. Consumer demand is down. And now their government is scrambling to pump cash into the economy. You know what? That's not confidence. That's damage control. And according to reports from the Associated Press and the Wall Street Journal, China just injected over 1 trillion yuan, about $138 billion into their financial system. You know what? Not because they're winning, but because they're losing momentum fast. And yet we keep hearing from people online, especially from inside China, that America is the one that's fallen apart, that Trump is bluffing, and that the United States just doesn't matter anymore. You know what? Let me ask you this then. If the U.S. doesn't matter, why is China suddenly ready to restart trade talks? I mean, that doesn't sound like strength. That sounds kind of like, well, pressure that's starting to work. And this is not a victory lap. I mean, both economies are hurting, but only one side is pretending that they're not. I mean, so what do you think? Who's bluffing and, well, who's bleeding?
If y'all haven't heard already, Europe and China just signed a trade deal, and they are going to take all tariffs off of China's goods. This is something I know America was not prepared for. This shows unity between foreign nations and China, who has been on the back burner for how many decades? We are watching as Trump is allowing China to become the dominating superpower in this nation, in this world. China has made trade deals with Africa, Australia, Brazil, Mexico, and now Europe. All that's left is Canada, and it's a wrap for us. After that debacle we just saw on the stage with Mark Carney, it doesn't look like we're going to be getting any deals with Canada either. This man is single-handedly destroying this nation. We're sitting back and we're watching it. It's happening right in front of your face. When this deal goes through, game over.
Donald Trump has officially caved, or at least started to cave, when it comes to tariffs on China. This morning, Donald Trump on his Truth Social announced that he wants to potentially reduce Chinese tariffs from 145% to just 80%, cutting them nearly in half. Now, this comes as the United States is facing significant supply chain issues in the works. Right now, we are seeing prices go up on a number of goods that are coming in from China, but also from countries across the globe. Mother's Day flowers are expected to increase in price. The used car market is increasing in price. Egg prices are steadily increasing as well. And all because of the tariffs policy regime. And now, Trump in his Truth Social post suggests reducing tariffs from 145% to just 80%. And in a Truth Social post writes, quote, 80% tariff on China seems right, up to Scott B., referring to Scott Bessent, his Treasury Secretary, who will begin negotiations with China.
You're not joking, right? Okay. Seriously, never heard. Life goes as the same as before. If you don't believe me, it's okay. I suggest you to buy a ticket, fly here. Find it out through your own eyes. And don't worry about being surveilled, because over 100,000 foreigners come into China every single day. So we don't really care about you. You're not that important. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm telling the truth. And I suggest you to do a quick interview of those people who keep talking this. I guess, I'm not going to say all of them, but I guess over 99% of them have zero experience of being in China.
China is basically just saying, we're having a talk about if we want to de-escalate or not. No way there's going to be a tariff deal coming out of this. The best thing they could do is if they both reduce it back to like some sort of baseline level, like maybe what Trump said originally, right? 34% on China, and China says 34% on the US, something like that. So therefore, we're not in this crazy 145% situation. I think the market could react very positive to that if there's improvement between China and US. The UK tariff deal is like, that's what's lifting the markets right now. That's what's part of the reason getting Bitcoin above 100K, and that's why all the altcoins have woken up. It's not a good deal. It doesn't mean anything. First of all, it is true. There are three factors you have to consider. First of all, it is true that the UK is a major economy. That's true. No doubt about that. It's like 6th or 7th largest economy in the world. It's behind India, China, US, Japan, Germany, all of that. But the UK trades very little with US. It's not even in the top 10. It doesn't matter much for the United States. And most of all, United States actually runs a trade surplus with the UK. Trump's whole shtick is he wants to take down all the people, all the countries that have a trade deficit with the United States, that's making money from the United States. US actually has a trade surplus with the UK. US, in his words, would actually be making money from the UK. UK doesn't export much at all to the United States. And even just to get this deal done, he basically gave UK 10% tariffs, but UK, as I said, exports very little to the US. And UK agrees to import more farm, dairy, agricultural products from the US, whilst US agreed to import more cars from the UK, right? It lowered its car tariffs, so it's not like you're getting a bargain here. So that's why I think we're going to get pullbacks in SP 500, probably still something like this, and then bounce up. I still think low off top, altcoin season is very likely.
Breaking news, we finally know why China, after all of this time, has decided to do trade talks with the United States. And have they been lying about their economy this entire time? There's 3 things we're going to share in this video about China's economy, including more bank collapses, why they decided to come to the table and start talking trade with the United States, and if they've been lying about their economy or not. So if you're interested in that, make sure you watch all the way till the end. The first thing to know is China did a recent stimulus, but instead of printing money, they allowed banks to keep less money in reserves. That way they can lend more money out. But since then, they had another bank go insolvent, meaning they didn't have enough money and they got liquidated. So that brings the amount of banks that have gone insolvent in China up to 41 in a year and a half. And if you don't believe me, Twitter already fact-checked me, so here you go. But the question is, why are we told that China's economy is doing so well during this trade war? Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, that's because China just keeps deleting the data that we need in order to know what's actually going on with their economy. And here's another source for you, because I know how all of you love sources. So this entire time that we've been told that China's economy is holding up just fine during the recent round of tariffs, all of that might not be true after all. But I guess we won't know because they'll just delete the numbers anyways. Now, why is it that after all of this time, China has decided, you know what, United States, it's time to talk trade? Well, Reuters actually talked a little bit about this yesterday, so let's see what they had to say about it. Well, it appears there's a couple different reasons. The first one is China has some economic concerns. The second one is they don't really trust the United States too much. And then lastly, they weren't really happy with the fact that the United States wanted help with the fentanyl issues that they have right now. And here's what's interesting. It says that behind closed doors, Chinese officials have grown increasingly alarmed about the tariffs' impacts on the economy and the risk of isolation as China's trade partners have started negotiating deals with Washington. I guess that's what happens when you stop publishing data about your economy. So that's 3 more L's that the Chinese economy has taken in the past week, bringing them up to 6. And I'll stand on what I said before. I give these trade talks about a month to 2 months before it's completely over and a new deal is signed.
Well, MAGA. Looks like Trump is starting to cave. He's already posting on Truth Central that he's looking at reducing the China tariff from 145% to still a ridiculous 80%, but almost half of what he had it. And China has given him exactly what so far? Jack shit. Trump's just caving like we knew he would, because he does not hold the cards, like he so famously told Zelensky. Donnie, you don't hold the cards here. China does. So you better step in line, get with the program before we have nothing in any stores for American people to live off of. Mother's Day cards, used car market, hell, even the price of eggs, all going up because of Donald Trump's tariffs. And he's finally starting to realize that that's why he's going from 145 to 80. Because he said Scott Bessent says 80 is about right. Scott Bessent says 80 is about right. Scott Bessent. He's already blaming somebody for when 80 is still too high, so that he doesn't have to take the fall for it. Do you even see what's happening, guys? Seriously? Does it need to be spelled out for you in big crayons or a Sharpie? Wake up.
I guess China couldn't find somebody else to replace the United States in the stock market, because breaking news, China has just agreed to meet Treasury Secretary Scott Bennett this weekend in Geneva, Switzerland, to talk about their tariffs. Scott Bessent and Jameson Greer will be meeting with Vice Premier He Lifeng, China's top economic official. The United States was set to meet with Switzerland to talk about the negotiations with tariff, and it just so happens that China said that they're going to be in the area traveling as well with everyone that's involved with the tariffs negotiation and might as well meet with the United States. And Scott Bessent just said that the objective of this meeting may be to discuss the possibility of lowering these tariffs, explore mechanisms so that we could rebalance the economy and our trade with China, and also to address some mutual concerns that we have so that at the end of the day, we are able to have fair trade on both ends. I see this as another win towards the United States and towards China because at the end of the day, we need one another, but they tend to need us more than we need them.
Guys, it's no lie. This whole thing is really confusing because there's back and forth. We really don't know who is winning, who's losing. It seems like it's a war of two people who are so egotistical to sit down and actually agree on one thing. Because on one hand, United States seems like the consumer, the primary consumer of Chinese products, who are the primary manufacturers. So between a manufacturer and consumer, who at the end of it all loses everything? To me, it seems like both of them lose because this one needs, the other one wants to give out, but they can't because they are egotistical. This one wants them, needs them, but they don't want to get them because they are also egotistical. So it seems like both parties have to bring their ego down in order to find a consensus. So it just depends on whatever deal they are trying to make or they are going to discuss in, did they say Australia or where was it? Not Australia, Austria or Switzerland, somewhere there. It's gonna be interesting to check out what they're gonna agree on. It's gonna be good for the citizens of both countries because they are the ones who are gonna suffer. Because imagine you can't export your products that you've manufactured, and maybe some of these products are perishable, or like you've spent so much on the inventory and you want to get returns on investment, and this other side, like you've ordered something and then all of a sudden like you can't order anymore because they can't be brought because of customs, like the 145% tariffs, bro. Like, it's insane. So it's gonna be interesting. I really do think that leaders of both countries are just gonna sit down and this whole thing is just gonna end. Give it like 3 months, it's gonna end. I don't know who is pushing for the deal. Both parties are denying that they are the ones who've called for talks, but anyways, they're gonna meet. So GG's, man. GG's. Whoever wins, wins. It should be a win-win situation, actually, not a lose-lose, for the sake of the people. We'll be here to report on that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down there below. Let's interact. Meet you in the next one. Peace.